The now abandoned VC Summer Nuclear Project in Jenkinsville once held big promises for South Carolina's energy future, but it also raised serious concerns, from radioactive waste to the long-term risks of nuclear power. As conversations of restarting the project begin to surface, we're joined by Taylor Allred, Energy and Climate Program Director with the Coastal Conservation League, to talk about the potential environmental impact. Taylor, thank you for being here. Wonderful name, by the way, I do just have to say.
Thank you.
But nuclear power is described by some as clean energy, right? Because it doesn't directly produce air emissions like carbon dioxide and things, but that doesn't mean it doesn't come without its environmental impact. So can you give us knowledge on what we should know about that trade-off there?
That's right, and there's definitely some debate there. Some would call it clean energy, some would differ with that opinion. And while it does not directly produce any greenhouse gas emissions or particulates or nitrogen oxides like fossil fuel power plants, there's really no energy source that doesn't come with some environmental consequences. And the environmental concerns with nuclear can be pretty substantial. That includes radioactive waste and public safety as well.
So this VC Summer project, the expansion started in 2008, the plans for expansion, and it was going to be 2 more nuclear reactors, correct? It was abandoned in 2017. As of last year, there's talks that they want to restart this project. Now, I think it's important to note that this was a big hit for South Carolinians. We see it in our utility bill. We're still paying for it. Billions of dollars were spent. If it was to restart, there's talks about big tech companies coming in. Rather, the energy coming to us, it would be to support these big tech companies. You mentioned radioactive waste is a big concern. How serious is this issue?
It's very serious. It's important to make sure that there are strong safeguards from independent regulators and good public transparency. I think that lately there has been a lot of pressure at the federal and state level to accelerate development of energy in general and nuclear power in particular. That raises some concerns that things could get missed. And there isn't a lot of room for error when it comes to nuclear power and radioactive waste. We've already seen leaks of radioactive waste at least 2 sites in our state, including the federally owned Savannah River site and the privately owned Kim Nuclear site in Barnwell that does waste reprocessing. And it would be potentially devastating to our communities to start having that accelerate.
And, so they're pushing to accelerate this, but there's also no long-term storage.
That's right.
Why?
Efforts failed a while back to develop a long-term storage site at Yucca Mountain out in Nevada, and unfortunately there haven't really been new efforts restarted to identify a new site. So far much of this waste has been stored on site at nuclear power plants like VC Summer. To some extent it goes to reprocessing sites. Some of that comes to our state from other states. And I think that we should very carefully consider whether that's something that we want to see growing.
And if this was to restart, it would triple the size. How would that affect Lake Monticello?
So Lake Monticello is a reservoir that's used for cooling the VC Summer power plant. And with a tripling of capacity, there would definitely be an increase in the impacts on the lake, particularly with the heat that's expelled into the water.
I want to ask you, what questions should we as a community be asking before there's any nuclear expansion, before that moves forward? What should we be asking?
I think first and foremost, we should be asking, what are the costs and what's in it for us? Like you mentioned, this power is not expected to be used by existing customers like us. We've got the power plants that we need for our energy demand. This would instead likely go to hyperscale data centers that are being built by some of the most valuable companies in the world. And they can definitely afford to spend the extra money to make sure that there are safeguards in place that protect our communities. You know, unfortunately, these data centers don't create a lot of jobs. They get very generous tax incentives to come to our state. But they do use an enormous amount of energy and a lot of water. And we need to be doing more careful planning as a state to evaluate the opportunity costs, where using some of that energy for other purposes that could maybe create more jobs, maybe have more community benefits, might not be possible if it all goes to data centers.
That was very well said, and a very interesting point, something for all of us to sit on. Taylor, where can we go if we want more information and if we want to be more knowledgeable about what's going on?
Another great resource on nuclear power across the Southeast as a region is Southern Alliance for Clean Energy. They've been doing a lot of work looking at nuclear power for decades now, and you can visit their website at cleanenergy.org.
Wonderful. And we will put the Coastal Conservation League website down below. Taylor, thank you for your time and for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you.
We're back in 2 minutes.